one of the concerns that we have is that Koreans have a lot of stocks in IonQ, but we think that the Western big money, like the big whales, make the stock price go high and down so much that Korean investors will leave. So what do
No,
you think about that?
no, I don't think, yeah, I just don't, I think that, what big institutional investors are, they're looking to invest. Big institute, they want to see IonQ succeed. If IonQ ushers in a new era of computing, they are going to make a lot of money. So that's more valuable to them than shaking out investors. So at this point, you can't, I wouldn't say like big money is moved into IonQ in a way. Like when big money does move into IonQ, we're all going to feel it and be like, look at the stock price. It's just, there's a lot of money on the sidelines right now. And a lot of the action that you're seeing are from people that are sharks playing games. I would tell Korean investors, don't be discouraged by these movements of people playing games. That's not big money. Big money is not, they're on the sidelines right now. They're not involved because there's too much volatility in the market.
We already saw Scorpion Capital do something to IonQ. So that's why we are.
When you become public, when you go to the NFL, the most challenging arena, you're going to face all kind of opposition. And when you say something like what Jun-Sang Kim said, if you say, I'm bringing the impossible to the possible, people are going to attack you. I don't have a lot of concern about sharks messing with the stock and when the stock does this, they could lose the shirt off their back. That's they're playing anyone who's messing with IonQ is playing a very dangerous game. And look, we're already at 2023. So in long term, like in 24 months, it could be a very different world for an IonQ investor.
Do you have any experience on having a long-term investing and got a huge return?
Yes. I mean, so for my investment style has been just long-term. I'm not, I just options and I don't invest in option. That's not for me. An inch wide and a mile deep into very specific companies and holding for a long time. So for me, what's done well over time is are companies like Honeywell and NVIDIA. Those are kind of ones that have really been with me my whole life. And really? I did the same. I just put every time I get paid, I make my investments into those, and that's I've accumulated enough wealth over those that it's allowed me finally, to start looking at other companies that have that same kind of excitement that you can stay with for a long time. So for me, IonQ is not a flip, right? I'm not trying to swing trade. I plan on staying for IonQ for, for a long time, because I think that I just feel that this is the new thing. This is the new technology that's going to be, it is going to be the foundation for other things. Great companies are actually rare. So I find it bizarre that people are like, I'm going to take my money out of this great company and put it down here and take it over and then I'm going to take it and try to find as if great companies with talented people happen every day. They don't, I remember when there was 30 some odd companies that were competing with NVIDIA, and then they all just went away. And NVIDIA was the only one left. If you want to accumulate wealth, I think it's a different game. It's a different strategy. And that requires putting a lot of money into companies that you have a lot of confidence in and letting them execute and sitting on your hands. When you're in the public markets, you're dealing with the smartest, ruthless, challenging environment in the world. You're really competing because it's a trade, right? You're making a trade. Every time a trade is made, someone thinks someone else is smarter. Like if I buy something, someone thinks that they're smart for selling. So the nature of that means that it's competitive. And I just know that the way I have an edge is that if I really understand deeply the companies that I'm invested in and I let them do their, I feel like I'm giving my money to the IonQ team and saying, just go do your job. And I'll check in with you every couple of years and expect to have more money than I had before.
I wanted to convince my viewers about the long-term investing that you mentioned.
Mm.
So could you give us a little bit about how much you earn from Honeywell and NVIDIA?
Sure. I mean, it would be many baggers. I have been putting money into Honeywell since 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
crazy.
if you are in NVIDIA for almost 16 years, like for a long time. Yeah. So if you do that, the compounding effect is so massive that you can accumulate a lot of wealth. So you just have to identify these companies, you stay with them, and every time you get paid and every time you make money, you buy their stock. It's that simple. It's that you don't have to overcomplicate it any more than that. It's not as satisfying as leverage, because usually when people are asking about investing advice, usually they want to talk about leverage and options, because they're like, how can I leverage so that I can, have an angle so that in 1 week or 2 weeks or a month, I've doubled or tripled my returns. And I understand how tempting, how powerful that is. But again, that to me is just the risk reward just isn't there. The wealthiest people in the world in investing, like Buffett and all these other kinds of folks, is you put your money in great companies and you just keep doing it. What our discussion, people should take away from our discussion is that, IonQ is that kind of company we're identifying right now, that if you start now, that over time, it's going to change your life. The 10 to 20x moves, while if they happen in a few weeks, are awesome. But the way that I think is best for, people emotionally and mentally is the long term over time. Because I just noticed that it's not healthy for people with their mental and emotions. Even if you're successful, I just think that the temptation's too great to keep doing that, and eventually, I just think that could lead to to blowing up an account and being disastrous.
I mean, it's really interesting to see someone who got successful from the long-term investing, because I always say long-term investing is important, but I've never seen someone who actually got successful from it. So
people like us, we don't have the loudest voices, right? Like no one shouts, "Ooh, I bought Honeywell," or "Ooh, I'm NVIDIA," or like no one's, right. Whereas the voices that come out the most on YouTube and Twitter and all these other places, they're the ones that are doing short-term investing, very, very short-term, and they're screaming and yelling at the camera, and they're getting they're very excited and animated, and they have a lot of energy. And so everyone thinks that, well, I'm missing out and I have to, that's how you do it. The loudest people, the most excited people, they aren't necessarily the most successful people. I think there's a misconception that long-term investors, we don't want to be rich. Of course we want to be rich. And of course we want to make money. Like, it's not like we're not interested in that. Of course we want to do that. It's just that we have an understanding of having that balanced approach. It allows you to make better decisions. Yeah, doing those little schemes of short-term stuff, you might beat me out in the short term, but I bet you in year 3, year 4, year 5, that's when you start seeing the separation from all the short-term dealing. So, but the thing is, you have to put in the work to research the great companies that you can be in the long term with. That's very important. Financial markets are so complicated that it's going to take a quantum computer to optimize.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like Goldman Sachs and Fidelity are working with IonQ to optimize, because there's so many variables in a financial market. So anyone saying, "Oh, I have a technique to use options and I can do this with it," there's way more going on.
Running a YouTube channel for me, like in a hard time like this, is like writing a journal as a Warren Buffett. It's like leaving a journal of myself, that I did my own DD and I work hard and did the long-term investment.
That's that, and that you did the work, and you'll be able to watch yourself grow. So right now, I would say, I feel like we're at the stage where we can ask the right questions. Over time, we're going to get better at evaluating the answers.